All right, good morning, everybody. This is the Fantasy Sports Boss. It's Friday. That means Fantasy Football Friday live stream. It's going to be early this afternoon around 4 o'clock, maybe 3:30. So look for that notification. Hit that subscribe button as well so I can take all of your start-sit questions, go over the final injury report of the week, and, of course, any other news and developments that happen from now until then. All right, last night, Arizona in a wild one. Boy, we finally got points on a Thursday night, 42-34 over the New Orleans Saints. A frustrating game on a number of fronts for certain players. Very good game for others. We'll get to it. We'll start with the quarterbacks right off the top. Andy Dalton, a lot of rumors that he's going to keep the job outright, even if Jameis Winston is fully healthy. He certainly didn't help himself, although he wasn't, completely useless. 30 of 47, 361 yards, 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, though 2 of those were returned for a touchdown. But Dalton fought. He stayed in the game. And that's one thing about Andy Dalton. He never gives up. He's always, looking to make plays. And the offense has really been putting up a lot of points since Dalton's been under center. So, you don't like the interceptions, but, this is what you get sometimes with Dalton. He throws the odd interception, not like Jameis Winston, and I think he should keep the job, and Alvin Kamara owners certainly want that to happen. Kyler Murray, 20 of 29, 204 yards, just a single touchdown, no interceptions. Murray scored less than 20 fantasy points. He had, I believe, it was 19 and change. And, that's the issue with Murray sometimes is when he doesn't run for a lot of yardage, and he doesn't. His fantasy outing could be a little bit underwhelming. So you run into that issue with Murray from time to time. But overall, the Arizona Cardinals. What I will say about the Cardinals is that, and it didn't happen in this game because they actually jumped out to a 28-14 lead, but it turned into a shootout. The Cardinals' defense has been horrible all year. Now I know they had 2 interceptions brought back for touchdowns, but that broken clock is right twice a day. The Cardinals are perfect for fantasy football because they're usually always trailing. They need to play catch-up, and they have to throw the ball constantly. And so that helps all of their offensive players. Now as far as the rest of the, Cardinals are concerned in this game, Benjamin, last week shockingly had a dud against the Seattle Seahawks, who had given up 100 yards from scrimmage against every running back they had faced prior to that one. But Benjamin redeemed himself. He was really good. 12 of 92, 7.7 a carry. He scored a touchdown on the ground and added a 2-point conversion, and then added 4 catches for 21 yards for good measure. Listen, James Conner looks shot to me. I mean, he's completely spent physically. He has no juice in his legs anymore. He's not showing any speed. He can't ever stay healthy. If Benjamin is capable of outings like this, and we saw in the preseason, him perform like this as well, he needs to be the guy. It reminds me so much of the Khalil Herbert situation in Chicago, where the backup is so much superior to the starter. So, a lot of, Benjamin owners were gun shy after last week. I understand that. But those who stuck with him were definitely rewarded. And at the very least, he's a hold, even when Connor comes back, because the next injury is right around the corner. Alvin Kamara, 11 of 49. The game script went against the running game, so you can't really blame him there. 4.5 a carry. He did add 7 catches for 56 yards. So Alvin Kamara, for the 3rd game in a row, is putting up massive fantasy football points. But he's not scoring touchdowns. He still does not have a touchdown. And why is that? Because of Taysom Hill. So every time the Saints are near the end zone, Taysom Hill goes in the game. He caught a touchdown pass from Andy Dalton. Just typical Taysom Hill madness. He had 10 fantasy points right at the start of the 3rd quarter, and then he scored nothing the rest of the way. He threw 2 passes, completed both for 48 yards. Ran for 9 yards, caught the 1 pass for a touchdown. So it's fun watching Taysom Hill, but in fantasy football, man, it drives you crazy. I mean, 10 points for a tight end is not bad. I mean, that's actually very good in this season, as long as you don't own one of the top 2 guys there. But, I said he's a set and forget guy. I still believe that to an extent, but the bigger picture here is that it really torpedoes Alvin Kamara's production. Although Kamara is still doing very well despite the lack of touchdowns. Imagine where he would be with those touchdowns. And, that's why we need Andy Dalton to remain the starter, because Dalton has Drew Brees tendencies in that he likes to throw to his running back, whereas Jameis Winston doesn't. But the 3 interceptions for Dalton, maybe that starts to change that discussion. All right, the receivers, Chris Olave, typical big day for him. I said to everybody who asked me, start Olave. There was, no Michael Thomas, no Jarvis Landry. He went 7 for 106. Certainly when Thomas and Landry comes back, there'll be more, target competition, but I think he's going to be the guy. Wow, DeAndre Hopkins, 10 for 103, 14 targets. I mean, it was just Hopkins and nobody else. I mean, 29 throws 14 of them went to Hopkins. Listen, I undersold Hopkins' return. I didn't think he was going to be this good right out of the gate. You know, he's aging a little bit. He lost a little bit of his speed. Anybody who watched him last year would notice that. But he's such a great route runner. We're talking Cooper Kupp kind of route running that, he gets himself open. So, listen, anybody who's been holding a Hopkins this whole time, well done. I didn't sort him out in drafts. I wasn't really on that Hopkins train. I don't own shares of him anywhere. Perhaps maybe I should have. But at the very least now, it looks like he's nudging Rondale Moore and Zach Ertz quite a bit down the target share. Rondale Moore, only one catch for 31 yards. My God, what a dud. I mean, again, the Cardinals, they were leading. Then we jumped out to a 28-14 lead, so they didn't really need to throw it as much like when they usually fall behind. But that's bad for Rondale Moore. It really was. And Zach Ertz, only 2 for 21. His first game of single-digit fantasy points. He did add a 2-point conversion, mercifully. But, it almost seemed like Kyler Murray. It's like, oh, my God, I got Hopkins back. I'm just going to throw to him every play. And that's what happened there. It was unbelievable. All right, so listen, hit that subscribe, hit that notification button. Watch for the live stream later on today, and I will see you then.